deck, right? It's even more expensive than Thoughtseize.
I heard that and Death Shadow have both gone up a good amount, I think.
Since Shadow's at like 13.
Yeah, it's gone up like 50% of its price.
Yeah.
The talk, from what I've read, there's some talk of Bobble possibly being in the next, what's it called?
Modern Masters?
Modern Masters.
I can see that, yeah.
But the thing is, it wasn't.
Since Cold Snap.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like it hasn't been popular, right?
Recently.
Like it only became popular. Like they've been working on that.
Popular, pretty much.
Yeah, so like they weren't thinking of reprinting this, because they work in 2-year cycles.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so like maybe Modern Masters 20 with 17, 18, 19,
I think it's very reasonable
20.
actually to expect it in this
Well, I just think one of the big reasons for it is to try and keep prices relatively down for some of the cards that they think are unjustifiably high, and I think their Bobble is unjustifiably high at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, at the moment.
How much is Bobble right now? 15?
Yeah, but it's been like a pricey card for the last several months. It's just only recently spiked beyond like $10. And now it's ridiculous.
They're like a garbage.
Do you want me to get the sideboard too, or just?
We'll talk about this. All right, so this is Suicide Zoo, is what we're looking at.
Yep.
You've got a few 1-drops, right? We've got the Step Links, we've got the Monastery Swift Spear, we've got the Wild Nacatl, but the Suicide and Suicide Zoo comes from Death Shadow.
Yep.
So you've got Death Shadow is basically the biggest guy here. He's a 13/13 for 1, but he gets -X to your life. So what you want to do is get your life down as low as you possibly can and still beat face. So how do you go about doing that?
I mean, the main things you're looking at, just anything that can kill you. I mean, you have the Phyrexian Life that you're paying to get it down. You have a lot of fetch lands to where you're not only just fetching to lose 1, but you're also fetching to shock yourself for 2. So ideally, you're losing 3 life for each time you put down a mana.
So let's say turn 1, you can fetch,
Thoughtseize,
Hitaxi, and probe yourself.
Yeah, I mean, even you also have your Street Race, which you're cycling for 2 life, so you're just cantripping a lot to get the cards you need.
On turn 1, you can take 9 damage.
And, well, I mean, if you played Thoughtseize, you can't play Death Shadow, but I mean...
Oh, right, okay.
In a, like, super ideal turn 1 would be, like, you have, you don't need this in there, but you have, like, these 4, maybe, I mean, this is... Depending on what you draw from here, I mean, if you draw a few more of these, yes, it's easy to get. It's not unreasonable to get a turn 1 Death Shadow, because you can take 3 damage from that. You're up to 5, 7. If you have 1 more cantrip that's going to hurt you, or even, I mean, if you have this in your hand and you just want to get down your Death Shadow, you can do that. I wouldn't really recommend it, but getting a Death Shadow out turn 1, if it doesn't get removed, you pretty much win. Because once it gets past bolt range, and depending if you're playing against path or whatnot, it pretty much runs people over. But ideally, in general, what you're trying to do is get a turn 2 Death Shadow. So turn 1, like either Thoughtseize or Creature.
Okay.
Just put pressure on them. Thoughtseize is nice because then you know you can get rid of their early removal. So against Jund or against anything that runs removal, you're going to want to do that. And then turn 2, get down Death Shadow. Turn 2, Death Shadow. And then by then, turn 3, what you're hoping for is this. Right. This was going to be your combo breaker. You get low enough, you've got all these cards in the graveyard from cycling, from cantripping. You get +6/+6 on something that's probably already close to a 6/6, and then you give it double strike and trample. And nothing's really going to be able to stop that.
Right. I mean, honestly, if you're giving it +6/+6, this really just has to be a 4.
Yeah. And nothing in the way.
And yeah. So and you do have a little bit of removal, just the 2 pieces of removal here. Now, why only 2 lightning bolts?
Lightning bolts in this deck aren't that amazing. As much as great of a card as lightning bolt is, especially in modern, it's 1 mana, 3 damage. You're normally playing so many other things that your focus normally isn't to remove stuff, unless you absolutely need to. The other thing that you can do with the lightning bolt is bolt yourself. There was a game earlier today where I had, so if I bolt somebody for 3, it does 3 damage, but if I bolt myself and I have a Death Shadow out and then I tremor, now it's done 6.
Okay.
So that's something you can
So this
play
is
with.
almost a gigantic growth that is also removal.
Yes. It can kind of do two things. The thing is, though, Lightning Bolt actually feels slightly clunky at times in here because you have so many other one drops, and most of the time you're trying to pump them up, you're trying to cycle, and you're normally using most of your mana in the first 2 turns, if not 3, to where you don't always want to be playing a bolt. So
Okay.
4 is too clunky, 2's about right, and it's nice if I don't feel like I just don't need them, I can go for my sideboard, and if I feel I need them in those early rounds, if they have something else, it's helpful for that as well.
Okay. And then lastly, we've got Mishra's Bauble. This is a 0-drop cantrip. But it's an Ice Age cantrip. So what happens is you get you look at the top card of the player's library, and either player's
Which
library.
is a big part of that. This is probably one of the most difficult cards to play with in this deck. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. Say my hand, for instance, is a Mishra's Bauble, a Street Wraith, and a land. If I play the land, what I can do, Mishra's Bauble myself, view the card. If it's something I want, I can cantrip for either through Street Wraith or Probe. If it's something I don't want, I can then use my land, shuffle it up, and do that. The other thing that's nice, I mean, once you've already figured out what their hand is, sometimes it's good to see what their next card's going to be, obviously, if you want to get some information on their side. So that's... I still don't think I play Mishra's Bauble right the vast majority of the time, and that playing that right is kind of what distinguishes those few extra percentage points of winning when you're grinding out those games, and so...
So it's actually a useful, necessary card in here.
Very useful, and the other thing to remember, though, this is a triggered effect on their main phase when you draw, so you don't draw right away, you draw on their... I mean, not their main phase, their upkeep, so I remember the first 2 games I played with this, I forgot to draw, so it gave me information, but then it wasn't doing what it's supposed to, which is cycle through my deck.
Right.
So that's something I know I've forgotten. I've seen other people forget as well, because your first turn you may play down like 4 cards, this being one of them, and by the time you get used, forget. So something very important to remember while you're playing with that card.
Sweet. Well, congratulations. This was your first FNM win.
Correct.
Yes? And you went 4-0 today. What would you say was your hardest match?
Actually, this last one was pretty difficult. Blood Moon completely shut me out in the first round. I have no basic lands in here.
Oof.
So, I mean, my sideboard does have a single forest, but, I mean, I put in my 4th Thought Seize for that, so that way I pull the Blood Moon both
as
games.
quickly as you can. Okay.
So I got rid of his Blood Moon the next 2 games, and I got very fortunate the last game that he had 1 mana, and he started playing creatures to generate mana, but it just was a little bit too slow for him. So
Sweet. Well, congratulations, and we'll see you Tuesday?
probably next Friday.
Next FNM. Very well.
Very much.
Congrats.